Hello, and you're very welcome to the second Change by Degrees Climate Club event. My name is Kieran O'Carroll, Director of Development at Change by Degrees, and I will be your host for this 30-minute webinar. Collaboration between organizations is more essential than ever to help solving the climate crisis. So the goal of our new Climate Club is to help facilitate cooperation and knowledge sharing on the topics that matter most to people and organizations. Speaking of which, energy costs are rising, supply chains are creaking, and finding talent is an endless challenge. That's why it's critical that businesses act now to embed sustainability at the core of their business. So how can you create a best practice sustainability strategy for your organization? I'm delighted to say joining me today to share their insights are two fantastic sustainability experts. Dr. Tara Shine is CEO at Change by Degrees. She has advised world leaders, governments, and civil society organizations on climate change, environmental policy, and development assistance. Tara was formerly a climate negotiator at the UN and special advisor to Mary Robinson Foundation, Climate Justice, and to the Elders. Welcome, Tara. We're also very lucky to have with us Rachel McKeown, who is site director at Abtran. Abtran is Ireland's leading provider of customer and business process management systems. They have over 1,500 employees working across 4 sites in Ireland, as well as working from home. She is also the co-founder of cancer charity Ovacare. Welcome, Rachel. Before we get started, I'd like to invite our viewers to submit questions in the chat function or by emailing info@changebydegrees.com. Tara, I'm going to start with you. How can our viewers set meaningful goals and targets for their sustainability strategy? What do meaningful goals and targets in the sustainability strategy look like?
So the first thing that's important is you have to focus on the things that are important. So there's no point in setting grand targets around getting disposable cups out of the canteen if you absolutely say nothing about your fleet of diesel vans on the road, for example. So that's where a materiality assessment comes in. It helps to figure out what's important in terms of your impact on the planet and people, but also the impact of the planet and people on your business. So a materiality assessment can really make sure that you're not missing out something that's really important. Second thing, so one is know what's important. 2 is get your baseline data together. If you don't know what your starting point is, you won't be able to set targets and then go back and measure progress. So that might mean you need to get a handle on your carbon emissions. It might mean you need to get out your utility bills and figure out what energy you're using. You may need to look and see what your waste bills are. But you also need baselines in terms of your social data. So what are you currently doing on diversity and inclusion? What is the gender balance within your company? How many women are represented at board level? What are you doing to encourage diversity and inclusion, for example? You need baseline data for all of these issues right across social, environmental, and economic. On economic, think about the pay and conditions you have for your staff. Are you providing a living wage, for example? Is that your aspiration or is that already your baseline? Third thing is strategies have to be ambitious. We're trying to do something really difficult. We're trying to transform the way we do business so that we're fit for purpose in a net zero world, so that we're more resilient to climate shock, so that we're ready for changing regulations. But you have to balance your ambition with reality, with your ability to actually achieve it. And the best sustainability strategies have ambitious goals, but also lots of short-term actions that show me that you're actually serious about achieving it and that you're changing today, that you're not putting it off into the future. And the last thing, the fourth thing, is that you have to monitor action and report on progress every year. So don't just set those goals and targets, go back to them on an ongoing basis. You need to have quarterly check-ins on them, and then you need to report on that information each year in an annual report that all of your stakeholders can see on your website.
Fantastic. And so many times we see organizations with sustainability strategies, but it doesn't tend to make much of an impact. It kind of lives on a shelf. It's not put at the core of the business. It's not really actioned upon. So for any one of our viewers who, again, in charge of creating that sustainability strategy, once they've gone through all this hard work and achieved that, how do they actually make sure it comes to life and makes a difference to the organization? It doesn't just live on a shelf.
Yeah, so change is all about people. So engage your people. You can't change anything with just a strategy on a page. You have to get people working with you to make the changes that are envisaged in the strategy. So a thing that we do in Change by Degrees when we co-create sustainability strategies with clients is we bring employees on board from the outset. So for example, we have a have your say in strategy, survey that we use to bring in employees' ideas right from the very outset around what they think is important for their company to be doing on sustainability, what they would like to see, what clever ideas they have. It's also useful to run focus groups and really collect and harvest those good ideas from the people that know the business best. It can be really useful to have a sustainability team that you put together that works with you on the strategy, knows it well, but also helps support implementation. The worst thing you can do is have an assumption that implementation is up to one person, up to the person who leads on the sustainability strategy. Really important that you're going to decentralize and spread responsibility for implementing the strategy across the organization, and a sustainability team can help with that. Another thing you can think about is employee engagement programs that demystify the strategy, raise awareness, and build confidence amongst all your employees to get involved in strategy implementation and to be really good ambassadors for it. So employee engagement programs can be a really critical step in getting that strategy off the shelf. And then remember, you're going to have to communicate it internally. Don't just talk about your strategy to your external audiences. Make sure that you're communicating on it internally, that you're actively making this part of everybody's job. They should be hearing about a sustainability strategy from their induction to their annual reviews. It should be part of everybody's reason for being at work.
Fantastic. I think it's such an important point that for those sustainability leaders on this call, once you have your strategy, implementing it is not all just down to you. It has to be spread out. It has to be decentralized. It's not all on your shoulders. Making sure that you're getting the team working on it throughout your organization is so central to making it a success. Finally, a question for you, Tara, before we go to Rachel. I've heard about really significant sustainability legislation that's coming down the line that means I need to have a sustainability strategy. What is the EU Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive? Absolute mouthful, CSRD. What does it mean for companies in relation to having a sustainability strategy?
Yeah, so the EU loves an acronym almost as much as the United Nations. So the CSRD is a new EU directive that requires companies to disclose environmental and social data. So it will apply to large companies from 2025, but then it will apply to small and medium-sized companies from about 2030 onwards, or maybe even earlier. So what does it mean to be large? Large means you meet two of these criteria. You have more than 250 employees, you have a balance sheet of more than 20 million euros, or you have a net turnover in excess of 40 million euros. So a lot of companies in Ireland already fall into this bracket, which means that they already are going to have to get prepared for this disclosure. You're going to be disclosing on sustainability indicators, just like you do your financial balance sheet each year. So you will have to disclose things including your materiality assessment. How did you decide what was important and why? Your strategy. So this sustainability strategy will be a thing that you disclose. The targets, which are within that strategy and your progress towards them, that will be another thing that you disclose. And then remember, I mentioned governance. So you'll also have to say, what's the role of the board and the management in holding the organization to account in delivering on these sustainability commitments. So all that is coming down the line. Starting reporting in 2025, this is not something, Kieran, we would always say is, in Change by Degrees to leave until 2024. It has to come sooner. And I see someone asking the question, CSRD, what about the UK? You're now outside the European Union. You're already doing this under TCFD. TCFD and CSRD are the same at their root. And so many companies are already doing this in the UK. And again, the intention is to expand it out to more and more companies as each year goes on. And similar things are happening in the US. They're a couple of years behind, but they're catching up quickly. So this is going to be standard practice for business, whether you operate in Europe, the UK, or in the States in the very near future.
Thanks, Sarah. And I think another element that you touched on that's so key is that this is reporting. So you're going to want to already have your sustainability strategy, your materiality assessment, your climate risk assessment all done, so you can report that you've done them.
Exactly.
So that's by 2025 for 50,000 companies in the EU. So you want to, if you want to start getting those things done and ready well in advance, pretty much immediately. So I think that's a really good push for organizations to get going now. So Change by Degrees recently supported Abtran to create their first sustainability strategy. So I'm delighted now to bring on our special guest, Rachel McKeown, who is site director at Abtran, a wealth of sustainability knowledge and who has lived the creation of a sustainability strategy. So Rachel, first question I have for you, why did Abtran choose now to develop their first sustainability strategy?
Well, Abtran were already committed to the environmental sustainability insofar as we had our ISO 14001 accreditation, which I know many companies have as well. But we wanted to widen that, like Tara was saying, to all areas of people, planet and profits. So like most companies, we were doing some good things in those areas, but we certainly weren't linking or reporting under the sustainability banner. We also wanted to increase our brand as an employer of choice and attract talent, really, because a lot of Abtran's age profile would be millennials and Z generation, and we know that sustainability is very important to them. And also, we wanted to reassure our current clients. So we have a lot of clients in the public sector and they already have excellent strategies. They're already reporting on their climate action plan. So we just wanted to kind of give them some confidence that we're now in that space and understand it better. And also for potential new clients, we're seeing it all the time at the minute in new tenders, that's a criteria, that's questions that are coming up under sustainability. So to win new business, we definitely wanted to move into that space.
Thanks, Rachel. So what I'm seeing there is actually just the breadth of how many elements the sustainability strategy covers, right? You've got increasing brand reputation, you've got attracting new clients, reassuring current clients. So there's real need covering multiple bases to have a sustainability strategy and multiple benefits. Obviously, when starting any kind of major project like a piece of sustainability strategy work, you have to get buy-in from people, and it's for something like this that goes to the heart of the business, you have to get key stakeholders on board. So who did you have to get buy-in from, and how did you do it?
Well, luckily for us, we had a key exec sponsor in the CEO at the time. So it was hugely beneficial for us in our approach with Change by Degrees. I can't emphasize that enough. There was definitely an education piece first with business owners and functional leads. What did sustainability mean to them? The common answer of all things green meant that it was an area to educate all of us on, not so much our younger members of the team, I have to say, but definitely us older ones. And by being inclusive, so building our sustainability team that Tara mentioned earlier was hugely important. So all areas and functions of the business were represented. And also giving confidence to people that whilst we've been doing a variety of actions, for example, under our CSR calendar, we just weren't messaging them under sustainability. So it was kind of pulling all that together to give them confidence to say, we have been doing stuff, we just haven't been messaging it or linking it. So, we have our environment accreditation, we have good engagement with employees, we have our work in the community, CSR initiatives, but we weren't messaging any of that under sustainability.
I think that's a really key point that we've seen a lot of organizations, is there can be all these different siloed sustainability activities going on, and it's only when you actually sit down and think what's most material, bring all these different activities together, put proper metrics and targets behind them, and then bam, you've got a sustainability strategy where the whole organization is pushing in the same direction, that you can actually evidence to those new clients, new staff, and so that it has more of an impact, more of the sum of its parts. And I think also very interesting, you're touching on that education piece for your people to make sure that they can help drive the strategy, and building a team that is not just like a sustainability team, but there's people from multiple functions, just so important to making it a success, again, making sure it doesn't live on a shelf. I know your sustainability strategy has some main themes that you've built on. How did you what are those main themes, and how did you determine them?
Well, I have to give credit to Change by Degrees. Obviously, we did a lot of work with them, and we used their methodology. So as Tara was mentioning earlier, that whole defining your purpose and goals was very important from the start, and we did that in a variety of workshops. But I think a key or a significant part of the strategy was our employee survey and the outputs from that. So we had 789 responses, which is unheard of in our world. And I think a key to that was how we did that. So a lot of our staff would be on the phones, for example. So we booked all of them off. So the message from our CEO was, have time off. We really want to hear what you have to say on this. We want you to tell us the main sustainability topics you want to hear about, and also what you think are Abtran's main challenges. So that for us really forms the foundation of our strategy. And then to answer your other question, we split it into 3 pillars. So 3 core pillars, which won't come as any surprise, but we called them Happy Society, Healthy Planet, and Thriving Economy. And then under those, we had 9 core objectives. So they were easy and simple to understand, but then underneath that were kind of over 30 detailed KPIs and actions to deliver on the strategy, so it didn't just stay on the shelf.
Oh yeah, fantastic. And I think really interesting there, first of all, amazing employee response. So, and I think to help get that, clearly that your CEO showed the leadership in saying that this was important to them, and giving people the time off, the capacity to get those responses, also showing that, hey, this is really important to the business, and saying, you know, this matters to us, please get it done. And so you had a fantastic 789 responses. That's terrific. So everyone feels like they've had a part in forming that sustainability strategy. We mentioned earlier the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and you've aligned your strategy with the UN SDGs. What was the benefit of doing that? Because we see a lot of sustainability strategies aligned with the SDGs. So just maybe talk us through why you did that. What's the positive there?
I think our main reason was that common language. So with the millennials and Z generation, they refer to the SDGs anyway, so it's very familiar to them. I think also the SDGs have become the reference point for a lot of organizations who want to be part of the solution of the climate interrelated challenges. So I think we have to use that language. And I think then also it's at the heart of, how can I put it, kind of the practice of the ESG. So and we all hear about that. So it's the main lens that investors are looking through and the finance teams are looking through. So I think we just have to align that we're all talking the same language.
Yeah, absolutely. So helpful. If you have, we know in this world now, like businesses who want to work with other businesses want to know each other's sustainability credentials. And if you're both speaking the same language, if you're both aligned to the SDGs, then immediately you're talking each other's language, right? And it really helps. So anyone out there watching this and they're thinking, geez, how can I make sure that I'm speaking the same language as maybe suppliers or regulators? Aligning your targets and metrics and your objectives with the SDGs is a really good way to do that. We all have challenges, especially in the world of sustainability, right? So what kind of challenges did you encounter and how did you overcome them?
I think our main challenge is in outsourcing, and in other companies, I'm sure it's quite dynamic. So it's very fast paced and people are very busy with the day-to-day running of the business, looking after our employees and clients. So for sustainability not to feel like a separate project over here, governance was key. So key accountable business owners and smart action plans definitely were key, but also that it's incorporated into your everyday language. So of course, we have our business strategy and balanced scorecard reporting, but the sustainability strategy needed to underpin that. So the language was crossing over. It wasn't a separate item.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's really good advice, making sure that everything connects and joins up and speaks each other's language. So final question for you, Rachel. What advice would you give to people in similar roles to you who want to develop a sustainability strategy for their organization? I could even put it another way. What advice would you give to yourself who you were just starting when you were just starting off on this journey?
Well, we've recently been acquired by Morgan McKinley, so I'm looking at a wider company and group approach. So it kind of does feel like I'm starting again. So I think from the first time round, what I've learned is definitely to get in front of senior key stakeholders. So whilst that sounds obvious, I think it just has to be done, and you have to meet with people that you think will own some of those sustainability pillars with you. And also to find out their current view on sustainability. Don't make any assumptions, because we definitely found that we needed to be patient with the education. Everyone had a different starting point, no matter what how senior they were in the company or not, everyone had a different starting point. So you can't jump ahead of that. And the employee survey was key for us. So the whole engagement and inclusion right from the very start, that was the key to success.
Absolutely fantastic. Now in this section of the webinar, I ask Rachel and Tara for their key take-home messages for the audience. And so Rachel, I'm going to ask you first, and I'm going to show a slide to help with your answer. But if you had one take-home message for the audience, what would it be?
I'd have to say clear and consistent messaging. So, and I know you're just going to show this now. This is our plan on a page. So whilst we have our lovely sustainability strategy document and the actions underneath that, we just had this plan on a page that you can see there. So we have those pillars. So we have that you can see happy society, healthy planet and thriving economy. We use those banners in all our internal communications so people remember it's connected to the strategy. And also, as Tara was saying earlier, it's just really important to link it to all your collateral. So it's on our website, induction, employee handbook. It's the common language that we're all using. And I think I would just add to make it fun, because we ran a couple of webinars with Tara and they maxed out on everyone attending. So I think just to remember to add that fun element. That's my message.
Absolutely fantastic. I love it. Make it fun. And Tara, over to you. What's your take-home message for our audience?
Oh, thank God I was a bit of crack. That's good. But I do think it's so important that we're hopeful and a bit, light about this. It's a really heavy topic. If you go in heavy on it, you just turn everybody off. So this is around, yeah, we have to be honest about the risks, but we also have to get really excited about the opportunities that doing things differently presents, and that does get me excited. And I think that some of the most exciting things we discover when we do strategy with clients is the opportunities that come out of doing a strategy together. But anyway, my number one takeaway is a cheeky one, but I think it's important. It's that get yourself a sustainability expert to partner with through this process, for a number of reasons. You know your business best. And then if you work with experts like Change by Degrees, we know sustainability best. And when we co-create together, that's when you create the gold. The advantage of being an external partner on as well is they hold you to account, one of the things we do at a kickoff meeting is say, these are your responsibilities, these are my responsibilities, this is how we're going to work together. So just by even bringing in that external expertise, you're holding yourself to account, you're delivering on timelines, and it also brings different faces and voices in. So if everybody's sick of listening to Rachel being the one banging on about sustainability, then bring in some different voices, bring in some different personalities. That might be to help get your senior leaders on board, or it might just be to engage employees, but it can help in that way too. So it can be quite a daunting thing to do by yourself, to try and figure out a sustainability for your business, even if it's quite small. So yeah, look for us. If you're a really small business, there are supports you can get through your local enterprise office. If you're a bigger business, you can get supports through Enterprise Ireland. And if not, we're here anyway. Talk to us anytime if you want some support.
Fantastic. And so that's about us out of time. So thank you very much to Tara and Rachel for their excellent insights. We'll share a recording of the webcast to everyone who registered. So please look out for that arriving in your inbox. And if you have any questions or you want a topic that you think could be covered by Climate Club in future, do reach out to us. Email info@changebydegrees.com. We'd love to hear from you. Future topics we're thinking about, COP27, upcoming sustainability legislation that may impact you. Let us know what you'd like to hear about. If you have any comments or feedbacks, stick them in the chat. We'd love to see them. And if you want to make sure that you're receiving all invitations to our Climate Club, again, in the email we'll send around with recording, there's a little button you can just press and we'll make sure that you're on all future invites. So again, thank you very much to Tara. Thank you very much for Rachel. And we hope to see you again at our next webinar or event. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.